Do you actually need to eat rice and beans every day for 10 years in order to achieve financial independence? Or are there other things that you can do and change within your lifestyle to help you get there faster? Welcome to First Gen Money, a YouTube channel for all things money and lifestyle from a first gen millennial's perspective. If you are somebody who enjoys talking about money, wants to build wealth, become a millionaire, and retire before the age of 65, then you want to hit that subscribe button so you can get notified anytime I release a new video. No shade really on rice and beans, because as a vegetarian, that is legit a big chunk of what I eat and enjoy. Financial independence does not need to lead you to living a life that deprives you of the things that you enjoy. Instead, we are going to talk about the pillars of financial independence that most people adhere to in order to be able to increase their savings rate significantly and be saving upwards of 50% of their paycheck. So in today's video, we're going to talk about my pillars of financial independence. There are about 10 to 15 that people can adhere to, but you can pick and choose which ones work best for you so you can increase your investments. Obviously, if you did all 10, 15, you'd be in an amazing place, but it doesn't always work that way. So I'm gonna just share the ones that I kind of live by and the ones that I implement into my daily life. I recently re-listened to a ChooseFI podcast episode talking about the 10 pillars of FIRE. So I'm gonna run through these pillars that they discussed in the episode, but then I'll go into the ones that I actually implemented and talk about them in more detail. I haven't done all 10. I'm gonna just share my 8, but first let's go through what the actual pillars are. So we have 1, low-cost index fund investing, 2, house hacking, 3, lowering your transportation costs, 4, reducing your food expenses, 5, tax optimization, 6, college hacking, 7 is travel rewards, 8 is cutting the cord, 9, side hustles, 10, savings rate, 4% rule. These 10 are like essentials that people implement when they're on their journey to financial independence. You don't always need to do all 10 all at the same time, but even just implementing 5 or 2 can really help you get that momentum to be able to increase your investments, because that's what this is all about. So let's get into the ones that I actually practice. The first one is low-cost index fund investing, which is something I do. Besides the 8 companies I own individual stocks with, I am 100%, no, well, I guess that's not 100%, but 90% invested in index funds. The reason why index funds are loved within the FIRE community is because they're low fees, right? So the fees on average for index funds are 0.2, mostly because you don't have a fund manager picking and choosing the stocks that actually go into the fund. And the low fees over time can make a huge difference in your investments, because that's more money that you keep for yourself instead of having to pay out for the fees of the specific investment that you chose. Low-cost index fund investing is also low lift. You don't need to be thinking about how to continue to diversify, because within an index fund, you can have 500, 3,000 different companies in one fund. So you're really diversifying across industries, across companies, and not putting all your eggs in one basket. Number 2 is house hacking. You already know I live in my boyfriend's mother's basement. It's where I'm recording from. We decided to move here in 2020 during the pandemic. We left Brooklyn and just wanted to come back to the suburbs because it made sense financially, but also we wanted to have more outdoor space. That one decision has been the biggest impact in me being able to be on track to max out my 401k or just continue investing and saving huge chunks of my paycheck. That rent line item is no longer there. It is, but it's minuscule compared to what we were paying in Brooklyn. And we only lived in Brooklyn for a little over a year. Before that, we were both living with our parents. I lived in my parents' basement. And again, rent wasn't a line item that existed to the extent that it did when I moved out. I had to contribute to utilities and pay certain bills, but it wasn't anything like paying over $1,000 just for my half in our 1-bedroom apartment. On average, Americans spend about 33% of their income on housing. So if we could get that 33% decreased, if we can make our housing cost zero, as it kind of is for me now, or even under 10%, that makes a huge difference in what we're able to contribute to the other goals that we have. Now, I'm not saying I'm gonna try to live in parents' basements for the rest of my life, but I know that whatever move we make next, because we are very interested in going back to Brooklyn and getting an apartment, whatever move it is, that it makes sense for the goals that we have in our life, which for both of us is to be financially independent. We can house hack in the way that we become landlords and we have somebody living in one unit and we live in the other one, but we don't know. All we know and all I know is that I love housing not being a big chunk of my expenses. Number 3, lowering your transportation costs. This one is exactly what it means. Try not to spend all of your money in a car or on gas or being a 2-3 car household, right? So I still do not own my own car. I have never really owned a car except for Shaky, rest in peace, who I owned for less than a year, my senior year of college. It's important to think about this area in your life. Are you using all your cars to the fullest extent, or are you paying for a car that just sits in the driveway most of the time? Also, a big line item for a lot of Americans, I mean, our top 3 expenses are, well, top 4 are taxes, housing, transportation, and food. So if we can lower any of those 4, we're gonna make a big difference. Number 4, speaking of, reducing your food expenses. Now, I'm not one to talk about this right now in this moment of my life because, as you know from my last video, I just, for the first time ever, subscribed to a meal delivery service. And it wasn't cheap. It was about $3.50 because I had a coupon for 40 meals. In many people's financial independence circle, that would be a no-no. Number 5, this one's fun, and this is the one that I still need a lot of learning to do because I don't do enough of it. So it's tax optimization, right? How are we hacking the tax code to help us pay less taxes legally? There are a lot of tax credits and all these things that I'm still need to learn to take advantage of in order to decrease the taxes that we pay. But right now, the way that I am doing this is through investing in my 401k. I recently shared that I got an 18% raise at my company. And so because I was at 80K a year and now I'm making 95K a year, I would have normally gone from the 22% tax bracket to the 24% tax bracket. But because I'm still maxing out my 401k, or still on track to max out my 401k, even with this increase, my tax bracket doesn't move. It still stays at 22% because when you take the max contribution allowed to a 401k, which is $19,500, then my income that gets taxed is $75,500, which is still part of the 22% tax bracket. Now, I still obviously pay more taxes because my salary increased, but I'm still in that tax bracket as I was with my previous salary. That's one way that I'm optimizing my taxes because I'm just contributing to these pre-tax accounts, or this one pre-tax account. Number 6, travel rewards. I can't say that I am a pro in this area. I have been travel hacking and, letting points pay for my flights since I got my first credit card. And recently, Ari and I just got a one-way ticket fully paid for from my points, as well as half of an Airbnb stay paid for. So this is something that I have done, I am continuing to do, but still a lot of area for me to grow because people get full 100% like trips paid for them, and I still don't understand exactly how that works. I have done it where I, get the bonus, let the bonus pay for my flights. But after I've gotten the bonus, like, it feels like for me, it's been a little hard to get to the point where your points are actually making a difference. Okay, number 7, side hustles. How are you making more money? Are you making more money, or are you just depending on this one income in your 9-to-5 job to really get you there? Sometimes when we have a 9-to-5 job and we feel like we can't make more, or like we haven't gotten a raise in a while, it could be time to, one, look for another job, but also get a job, get another job, get a side hustle. I just had a client who started working at Whole Foods because she wanted to make more money to save for the goals that she has, like paying off her student loan debt and saving to move out. Whether it's getting a part-time job somewhere or starting your own business. For me, my side hustle is First Gen Money. And although I don't actually make money to be able to put towards my goals from this business yet, the goal is that one day it will. Right now, all that I make from First Gen Money just goes back into spending for the business, like taking courses or buying a camera. I also recently discussed that I'm opening up an Etsy shop to sell items that I find on my trips. But that is a side hustle that I want to explore because I love artesanía, is what we call them. I love artisan goods, and I want to be able to share the beautiful things that I find on my trips. So that's a side hustle that I haven't made money on yet. Even just like reselling things online. I mean, I made $12 last month on reselling, but if I was really going in on that, I could be making a lot more, like my friend Anita from Retired Millennial, who has a YouTube channel and kind of shares her tips on reselling. So side hustle, make more money. And the last pillar that I kind of also include in my lifestyle is number 8, savings rate and the 4% rule. This is more about how much of your money can you actually save? How high can you make that savings rate without you feeling like you are sacrificing something or depriving yourself of living a good life, right? Is there a good sweet spot for you? And just keep practicing increasing it, right? When you get a raise, increase that savings rate. Continue to like add to your savings instead of adding to your lifestyle. Now, there is a difference with saving for future spending and investing. So I have been kind of thinking about this a lot recently, but how much of what I am putting aside is going into a sinking fund like travel, like gifts, versus how much is going into investment accounts like my Roth IRA and 401k. Can I shift some things around so that most of it is going into investments instead of sinking funds for future goals? Those are things that you want to think about when you're looking at your savings rate. And then the other part of this was the 4% rule, which I did discuss a lot more in my What is FIRE video, which I'll link up here. Those are the 8 pillars that I live by that I will be continuing to challenge for myself. There are a lot of areas where I could still improve, like lowering my food costs, and when I want to move out of the basement, in what way can I continue to keep housing at this level of spending that I have it right now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you take along something for your life. Maybe you can say, all right, I'm not in the house hacking mode right now, but how can I get there in the next year? Or, we have 2 cars, but we don't need 2 cars. How can we lower our transportation costs? Whatever it is that you resonated with, I hope you take a little bit and implement it in your life. Thank you for watching this far. I will see you in my next video.